and welcome back to Templeboy Turnings. I am Steve, and it's been way too long since I stood in front of this camera, and I'm really sorry. I am back turning. I'm here in my small shed where Templeboy Turnings all originally started just over a year ago. It's just the small shed, 8 by 8 feet, just at the back of my house. And the reason I'm here is because the other place I'm in, because it's winter time here, we're hitting temperatures of -3 sometimes at the moment. It's an old stone cottage and it's really cold. It's a lot colder in the cottage than it is outside, and it doesn't have any heating, it just has the open fire, so it takes a lot to get the room warmed up. So this is where I'm going to be, especially for the next few videos, because what I've decided to do, just to pep myself up and get back in turning and doing some YouTube videos, a lot of YouTube videos, and get in front of the camera again, is I'm going to do the 12 turns of Christmas, which means I'm going to do 12 small hobbyist projects on my MIDI lathe here in the small shed, and it's going to be just 12 videos just over the next 2 weeks building up to Christmas, or 3 weeks nearly to Christmas, and I'm going to fit 12 turn-ins in of small projects, and I might even write a bit of poetry or something to go with the 12 turns of Christmas. So if there are any Christmas projects that you'd like to see turned, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see if I can put them into the 12 turns of Christmas for you. This week what we are doing is, or today, is a Christmas Snowman pen. So it's a modified slimline pen for those of you that know about pens. It's going to be made out of Irish oak, and yeah, let's go over to the lathe and I'll explain everything from there. So I have my blank now. We found the centres of the blank. Jacob's chuck into the tailstock, and we're just going to drill this. I've got the drill bit set up in the Jacob's chuck almost to the end, and we're going to drill right through the blank. Hold your chuck so that it doesn't spin in the tailstock. We're drilled all the way through, and now we can take our blank out of the chuck. This is just a 7mm slimline mandrel. If you're used to doing pens, then you'll know that you have to scuff up the tubes for gluing them into the blank, and you just do that with a piece of sandpaper, and you just scuff them up across the tube, and not with the tube, because it gives score marks across it that will give it a bit more strength for the glue to hold on to. Next stage, thin CA. Giving it a twist as we push it into the blank. Now I'm going to push that down just slightly further than the edge of the blank, so that way we could just drill out with the burring tool, and we can clean out the ends right down to the tube, and we know that we're going to have it flush with the tube. And there you go, that's it. Okay, so that's our first tube in. Okay, and I'll show you what we do next. Now we need to determine what length our pen is going to be, which is going to be 2 of the brass tubes in length, so end to end. We have our first one in there. So what I do then is I want to go a bit longer than I need, because again we can drill out flush the other end again, and I'll show you that in a second. So I roughly guess where the end of this tube is, and then just go a little bit more, doesn't matter really how much, and mark that on the outside, and then add another length, add the other tube length to that, and that's roughly where we're going to cut it, just there. So our blank is now cut to length. We slide our second tube in so it goes down to the bottom, and then again we take our burring tool, and we drill right down until we hit the brass tube. Drilled right down to the brass tube again, so we know the length of our pen now, and when we turn that will just turn away, so we'll know the edge of the tube. So now it's just a matter of putting it onto the mandrel, remembering of course which end is our glued end. So what I would suggest is just mark with an arrow the end that you've put your glued tube in, and that is going to be the top of the pen. So in this case it's going to be the head of the snowman. So we'll get it onto the mandrel and we can start turning the shape. We want to make sure that both tubes are in our blank so that we have good support down through the centre of the blank. So we put 2 bushes on first, because that brings your pen away from the edge of the collet on your mandrel, so you're not working up against the nut. And then we slide, in this case we're going to slide the end that has the glued tube on first, because this is going to be our head of our snowman and we're going to work down to our tip this way. So we'll slide that onto our mandrel, making sure our tube is fully in. That will go in anyway when we put our other bushings on. And then in this case I think I'll probably need 3 or 4 bushes. I've got a bigger one here but it doesn't matter, just to take up the slack. I like a nice bit of room towards the end of where the nib is anyway. And then I tighten that up very loosely to start with, and then we're going to bring our tailstock up with our live centre and just touch it on the end of our mandrel, tighten that down, and it's just a tiny little turn, nothing much at all, because we don't want to bend the mandrel, and lock that down, and then we can tighten down this nut. Okay, so we're almost round this end where the hat's going to be. Not too worried about this end at the moment where the nib's going to be, but up this end we want as much meat up here as possible, because we want the rim of the hat. If you go too small up here, then the proportions of the hat aren't going to look right. So try and keep your blank as wide as you can, round but as wide. There's still just a slight flat spot just there. I'm just going to get rid of that, and then once we're down we can start shaping the hat and working out our proportions of where the snowman is going to be. Okay, my apologies, battery went on the camera, so I haven't done much. All I've done is I've just started turning the hat. So we're just using our 1/4 inch spindle gouge. Normally you would have a clip that would go on here on a normal pen, and then you have your end cap that holds the clip on and pushes in. But all we have on the snowman is we put the end cap on its own, and it makes it look like the hat has a chrome lid on it. see there, we're starting to define the shape of our snowman. It still needs a little bit of refining around where the scarf is going to be. I like the edges to go quite deep in there, so it really gives it a look of two separate balls rather than just a piece of wood. So I'm going to use the skew. You can use a thin parting tool, or you can use any detail tool really, just to get it right in tight there. But I'm going to use the small 1/4 inch skew that I have, and just get in there and clean those edges up. There you have the basic shape of our pen. Just want to refine the body just a little bit more, and then we can say that that's done and it's ready for a bit of sanding. It's pretty good off the tool, so we don't need that much sanding. so that's the pyro done. Very simple, not much to it. And now, just to get a little bit of detail on the hat, I'm just going to use a bit of this is a bit of hardboard with some laminate on top. It's kind of like your laminated flooring that you'd get, and we just get a high speed on the lathe, quite high, and we're just going to touch that on until it starts burning. And I'm just going to put a burn mark just on the rim of the hat there. Okay, we're ready for assembly now. That's come up beautifully. I'll get it off the lathe and I'll show you how these go together. Okay, so here's our pen, looking very shiny and lovely. So the next stage is to put this pen together and the kit together. Right, so first things first is we're going to put the back of the pen into the top of the hat, just here. There we have it. Just doing the top of our pen there, and it just gives the top of the hat a nice little chrome finish. We're going to throw away the centre ring. We don't need that. When we say throw away, we'll keep it for spares. Alright, so now in our pen, if you remember, we have our loose tube just here. I use a pencil, you just pull it out there. So that's our loose tube. So we've just taken the tube out, put the pen back down there for a second, and first things first, we need to push the nib onto the tube. Push in like so, all the way in. Okay, so now we have our nib just onto the tube. Next we get our mechanism, and again we can just get that started off there like so. Just go to the line to start with, or just before the line. There's a mark just on the mechanism there. Don't go any further than that. Try your ink, that just screws into your mechanism. And just try your ink just to see where the tip sticks out so it looks right. That needs to go just a wee bit more. Now it's to personal preference. That's it. And we're there. And then, quite simply, you pick up your pen and you take that whole unit that you've just put together, your nib, your tube, your mechanism and your ink, and you slide the whole thing in to the front of your pen like so, and that just meets up lovely at the front there, and the friction of that tube holding into the wood inside and into the second tube, you just twist the nib, and that's what brings your ink in and out, just like that. And that is your modified Snowman pen. And there you go, one Frosty the Snowman modified slimline pen. Simple project, simple spindle turning, tight turning, very finicky, getting into the tiny little coves and beads. But you know, practice on just a couple of bland pen blanks that you have in your workshop. I prefer when I did another one that I put up on Facebook there yesterday, I think it was yesterday, and I did it all with, mainly all with a skew, but as I said in the video, it's a lot easier to show you how to use the traditional tools. I know I used the skew a couple of times in this one, but it's just so easy to get into these tight little gaps. But that's it, guys. One Frosty the Snowman pen. I'll put pictures up at the end anyway, as I always do, and I will see you soon for turn number 2 for the 12 turns of Christmas. I'll see you soon, guys. Thanks for joining me. Bye bye.